Okay. Hmm. I glad I reach up here and thing. I get for you, and you can know me lifestyle, but sometimes you just feel like your life gonna be an end someday. You understand what I'm saying? So
Or it could be better.
no, there ain't got no betterment inside
You
me
don't think
life
so?
or anything. Nah, I don't feel so. You know what I mean? I don't feel so. Not in this life. Maybe in another life. I know so much of things that cannot be told. You know what I mean?
Just behind the main streets of Georgetown, the capital of Guyana, there is a small shanty town. I had passed these streets many times on a previous trip, but never ventured in. I've come back to explore the forgotten cracks of this city. I'm fascinated by life in the ghetto. I'm driven to learn what draws some to despair and others to joy, some to violence and others to peace. Of the many people I meet, I become close to three. Their stories do not intersect, but their lives run parallel.
This is the voice of Ghana. It is 12 hours 30. There is no announcement of death, nor is there any message at this time. The next announcement of death and messages can be heard at 20 hours 35.
Omila welcomes me into this intimate moment. She is expecting her fifth baby. The fourth was lost a year ago to dysentery. Survival in the slum is day to day. Disease is rampant.
What are you doing?
Hospital.
To mommy.
Scheme coming back.
Yeah, to mommy.
Believe it's another body. Same thing you say, somebody. Bye.
You find it's only a few, one out of a million just come out, you understand, to successful. You're doing something, you know what I mean? But 95%, 99% is left in the slum all the time. Just keep punishing, keep suffering. Grow old, get crippled wherever you left in your house, you know what I mean? Just like they say when my name is got off. Let me carry you and show you. Let me take you and show you that part there. So you can see. People really don't like me because they say I'm very ignorant and very disturbed. So they don't want too much of dealings with me. You know, they don't want to mess with me too much. You know, they don't want to get in me way and them things because I ignorant this it. You know.
It became clear that Peter wanted to confess something very dark to the camera.
Mind your business. Who you are talking to? Yeah?
What happened with you? Somebody come to you?
Oh, I thought so. Hi, Miss Gato. Come on, Nicholas. You come. These kids is all of her own. You understand? She got them like must be about 4 or 5 of them, you understand? You know, so this is things that always go on every day, you understand? They're in the struggle every day. You find is a whole set of advantage then, you understand? Saying it's been taken over poor people in Guyana, you know. And it is corrupt your mind. Hunger is put you to hunger for make you do things and evil things too. Like I done, you understand, in my life, you know what I mean? I done a lot of evil things. I mean, the same people around you will tell you, you understand, saying I do a lot of serious things in this life here, so you know what I'm talking about. Right? You know, it's not too late for I correct me life anyhow. You know, but I stay living on the edge, my brother, you understand?
Gotta watch them. If they're good enough to pull it out and run with it. Children to go to school to get up their things, their books and so, oh my gosh, it's tough. It's tough, I don't know, I really need them to go out to school, but expense, everything is money.
When I first met Auntie, she spoke freely about a history of violence that her family endured, but she had never wanted to be filmed. Today is the first day that she is comfortable with the camera.
First of all, I was being abused by my husband. Yes, I was being abused several times he was being very violent and abusive. I had 6 children at the time when the abusing started. I never got to the police. I had to wait some time. If I did go to the police, I might even see my death move fast. I used to leave it like that and let it calm like that.
Auntie now lives outside of town with 4 of her 6 children. There is a common thread to her story, as many mothers are left abused and children fatherless.
Everywhere I go to live, he come in and searching for us. He come in and find me all over the place. He come in and find me. He's not leaving me. Four days before Father's Day he came and he created a scene. We had to rush and get him out of the yard. And up to the littlest child, which is he, had a piece of wood in his hand. So I know he can't do nothing now. He's scared to do anything now.
As I watch the children play, they seem oblivious to the harshness of the environment. Many adults cannot read. I wonder what hopes and dreams the children have, if they dream to leave here.
Hey, bye-bye. No.
No, don't come down here.
No. All right. No, John. Bye-bye, you know. What? Bye-bye, card yourself.
We got more of that thing in Canada than y'all do.
Oh, video.
Look straight. There's a documentary you want to do it.
Documentary, you carrying it outside.
You gotta send some money for us to live better. Don't put me on camera. Look, I don't hear this. This is my
This
home.
is where I live.
This is my home.
Okay? When the rain fall, the water better stop all your bed, everything the water wetter. This going on Guyana camera, on Guyana television. Don't put me on Guyana television.
It's outside.
We need help, we need help, we need help. When the sun is shining, it's good, and when the rain is falling, it's different. Right now, we got to move from here because somebody else bought the place. And they got this in court. Right? We got to find somewhere to live. If you don't find a place to live, they throw you on the street. Because it's not our place, it's somebody else's place, you know? Somebody else's place. And I pray a lot, I cry a lot, and I pray a lot to get out of here. I need to come out of here.
As I wander through winding corridors that weave together to make the ghetto, I find the lives that form chapters of the shantytown story.
Sorry, they ain't easy with me. Right now, you're looking for go make money. Cause Guyana hard. If you don't hold your head, you'd go there, fear, be a prostitute and all them things. Especially when you come from a ghetto, poverty. But you gotta come out to the poverty and make yourself somebody, sir. And I make myself what I am and what I is. Me make myself not what I mean trying to be down, I'm trying to be up. I'm looking for be a way up in life. Not come be down all the time. So I'm gonna talk to man down
What y'all do to survive?
Me, I sell a lot of fruit juice. You know? Sell juice, Bible, you know?
Everybody ain't got to believe in God, eh?
They gotta believe in somebody. You understand? Because they got somebody above we. You know? So somebody keeping us. Being just, you know, being a just, you know? You want to say something?
Since you say you come from Tiger Bay, you're the thief, you're the murderer, and you're this, you can't tell people you come from Tiger Bay.
Tiger Bay is
It's a body, it's a body area. They want to frame me. Just because they come from the ghetto and stuff like that, they want to try to say I thief the thing. All I want to do is just get a good education, that's all I do. And them children knows all like them children get a good education. You know, they don't really know certain things, you know. Yeah, just somebody to teach you, you catch on.
I find myself surrounded by many children. The streets are a playground.
Hi, my name is Tom. I have a Y2K. I work at a butter factory. One day my boss came up and said, Sam, are you busy? I said, no. He said, turn this way with your left hand.
My name is Umila. I have 4 kids. I've been living here all my life, 31 years. Well, life here is a struggle, but still we have to make it every day to survive.
Yes, sir. It's really good.
What you?
I go to school. And so me, your Cordelia, Rihanna, Andrew. Thank you, sir, for this permission. You wanna shut up your shit mouth?
Count. Say the ABC. Baby, say the ABC. Hello.
You thought of a name yet?
No. Me husband want another.
You want to
A
know?
girl, you want girl, you don't get two girl. But you want another girl called last year want me son. Yeah, shoot and die. One with me from my first relationship, he had three big children. And one his son get shoot by police. So he said he want no more buy. You are another girl.
Last time he came in children, they never came in Sunday. Fire! Come up from there! Those are the guys that rob people in Guyana.
So what you want me to
I know what you do for a living or what you've done for a living.
all right. Started. You see, too much people around me if I really like talk like that right now. You know. Them children we go to another little quiet place than this is so you can get it better and you know the whole fullness for me like that. You know.
Oh, you're shy around all these, yeah.
A little, you know what I mean? You want video? No, don't video though.
Some video? No.
The street is why you have to pick up me money pon. Meet couple big man, you understand what I'm saying? Get a little food from them. When I meet food, I meet drugs. Hello? But I deal with drugs and I sell drugs to people and I know it's hurting people's life like that too.
What you smoking, boy?
Huh?
What you smoking? What thing?
Smoking?
Yeah, what thing you smoking?
A conclusion, decision, and vision.
Well, after he was under the influence of drugs, they said that the drugs take full control over them and they're doing these kind of things. But you know, I don't really don't got malice or hatred because I know God take care of everything. Yes. I haven't done him anything wrong, though he do me so much. I never got to the station, said that I'm going to lock him up. Left him to God. God got his own time waiting for him. Only God knows the time and the hour.
Since I growing up, I selling drugs. I grow up between me mother alone. I never grow knowing a father from the time I born. Yeah? And let me tell you something, I grow knowing me mother as a whore. Yeah, I saying, and this is how I live, me life knowing me mother all the time. That's my mother. You understand what I'm saying? She was a prostitute on the road, on the streets. You understand what I'm saying? Man used to bust up she fucking head. You understand? Yeah, man used to bust she head when she trying forget the extra dollar out of the pocket. You understand what I'm saying? Lash she head, buckle and bust up she head. So when she come home 3-4 o'clock in the morning, I used to be the only child. Used to be awake, waiting for when she come home. You understand what I'm saying? Sometimes I used to jump over the wall and fellowship on the streets. She didn't used to know that I used to there behind she, but I used to there sitting down and then talking by a fence or somewhere and watching she from trail up the road, peeping she, watching she doing prostitution on the streets just to mind me, just to put a plate of food on the table. When I see man lash me more inside your head and all them things and doing them things though, I say I gotta do something about this, you know. I got to do something about this, so I got to make a choice. I who take me mother off the streets, you understand, from prostitution, by selling drugs and doing certain things on the streets, you understand, saying, for survive. My mother don't have no education at all. So that's why there's things that will happen to her in her life. And she now, you know what I mean, like using it as a weapon now. She just corrupt in the messed up world she left in, and she'd even take off all her clothes in the yard, naked. You understand what I'm saying? She don't care what she do. You know, she's like me. I guess she mentality. You understand what I'm saying? I just don't care what I do. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because she don't respect the things them that I do for her. You know what I mean? The things them that I done for her and risk my life out there. Tell you the honest truth, you understand what I'm saying? It's not a joke. I just be telling she. You know, because some of the times I just feel like killing she. You know what I mean? Just kill she and just, you know what I mean, just kill my own self just to talk. Well, I don't believe in suicide. It means that if I kill she, I can go and do a lot of more things.
When I turned off my camera, Peter told me his first violent experience was as a young child. He had stabbed his sister in the neck over a small squabble. I can't help but wonder what the fate of this boy will be. Does Amila fear that violence will take another child?
Usually my main basic income is I string hair. I do that and get small chain, and then I got my husband, he assists me. And he works laborer, or he buy things and sell back.
I'm gonna marry her. This guy who named Carlton here, sir. He's giving me my best man. This guy here. I'm gonna marry him. He's gonna be my flower girl. These two girls, you gonna be my flower girl? Tell the guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Tell the guy you gonna be my flower girl?
Yeah. Good afternoon.
You can be my flower guy. Say yes, guy.
Yes, guys.
Oh, you doing? Check it. I just like watch movies, all these movies. I just stay in here, watch my movies.
You stay in the house? All the kids?
Yeah, the kids and my mother and my sister.
Your mother and your sister?
But I like it over here, man. So that movie we're writing about hope, it'll be a good movie. I'm telling you. That we just hoping all the time.
It's starting to get heavy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Enough movements too.
Okay. That's cute.
That's why it's like how me and my partner be together, because when I was young I didn't grow up with my dad, and children need to have both of their parents while they're growing up.
Somebody work say you gotta come and clean. And I know nobody never come and clean them. It's me clean them. You're getting some bother worse, you know what I'm saying? I need to get my kids out. I need to get my kids out, man. I remember the last son I was 18 years old already. person we all live right together. Kill me son. Family living there, I see the family every day. You know what I'm saying? I live with dog. He said, the man don't say I'm going to do nothing towards his family. I left father for make a judgment. You understand me? I made the father make a judgment. I might see people who family kill me son, you know, watch. You know, you tell me you kill me son, you did do it. Maybe because I use a president, yeah, every country. You know, I ain't got no problem as a poor man. It's already living as a poor person. You see? This country ain't got no justice, you understand me? Because poor people ain't got no rights. You know what I'm saying? Poor people like me, a lot of people ain't got no rights. But I just live humble, you know what I'm saying? I live humble. I get up, go to work every day, you know. I ain't no saint, I ain't for the boss say here, but change my life. Because I feel for other people.
Certain thing you went through, you know. You been in prison already. When I went pregnant with the last baby, we went in prison for a couple months. Because a man come and say, but he sell you something and the police they lock you up also. But we still get thing and he come out and but he knows certain things and everything, but he said them things make sense. And he change his life.
But the main object, by the grace of God, if I could get money, I could build a nice thing. This is what I got here, stuff on the land, I got tuition. That's all I need in life. Just like in the first place. That's life begins at 40. You understand me? That's how we get serious. I never get in dance and but I get old Ellen life first. I know what them things based on money. I got children. I don't even drink a beer, but I'm drinking no beer, me, no man. I don't live them life. You gotta be strong. You understand me? So, I just watch me life. You understand me? I got 3 children first, 1 day left 2. I got another 3. When you get to 1, you can make it 4, you can make it 6. Back to 6 again. You understand me? Good. There's 6. And look how much more around me. Because all this is life. You understand me? I put on all these things, small. Everything.
I follow the children away from Emila's home and into a small, crowded building housing many families.
7 of we live in there. What? More Jan and Mercer, right? Dennis, me, California, Calvin. 7 of we live in there.
There's on 6. Your mother makes 7. 7 of them.
32. Come be all 5 and the other 2 says 32. 32 person.
32 person is living this whole thing. 33 people got use one pipe. That's the whole area, everywhere. It's road. You can't live quiet.
Moko quiet.
You want to get out?
BV quiet.
Linden quiet.
Pleasance quiet.
Just want to move out here.
I look at myself in the mirror and I smile. Alone, I would smile. Before I sleep, I look myself in the mirror again and I just smile. You know, it takes away a lot of things from me. It makes me feel happy. All that I want is to come up from the side. This particular place, I want to come out. This is about your poor way how you live in and how you conduct yourself. That is what counts. Not a big set of money. I live here without alone in this square place where you see here. One door where you peep in there, you think got no window. This is how I live. I ain't got no way for cook. I ain't got no place to bed, no shit out for piss. I buy a place in Belfield, and I waiting for the government for help me out with something for bill. So if y'all could help me out with that, I would be very, very glad to come out from inside here. That is all I have to tell you, nothing more. It's the truth.
And sister, what you are? The bag of monkey, so,
See the area there's mostly is business properties that around the surround the area. So they're trying to get rid of the community. Even though they say everybody's supposed to clear out to the area soon, still more people coming for live.
Yeah, look how much you cost of this.
Here I feel exposed. I've become a tourist of poverty. I'm reminded that they don't share my freedom. As I watch these people in the confines of the environment, I wonder who I'd become if I was left with no way out of the ghetto. Hey. Stop it.
Coconut more. As you grow up and see everybody and you wanted to feel how it is to be a mother. I had a young baby, this one was 3 years died. She had gastro. Yeah, my grandmother. You go to live with her married them. Meet your uncle here. I tell you go rent off your skin now.
You big?
Yes, you know already. Go rent off the skin, put on the red suit. Long.
Oh, let me be kid truck. What they?
We know. Well, my mother is a single parent. And she would bake pound red cake and so on, sell. From an early age, we had to start learning how to provide for ourselves because there were so many of us. And then our mom, she was just a single mom. This was Ari's asking Chow when you ready, if you are ready, Chow, so when they ready for asking for money, so when they ready for movement materials and make items and go. The government, them give we the land and everybody's supposed to get 100,000 worth of material. And now majority of the people get no material because the man where they put in control, he did his own thing.
Something the land because the people left don't send they taking back the land from you if you aren't doing nothing with it. Just how you went and do. You don't get it.
October the 2nd, she said. Okay. But you said nobody know the right date.
Because sometimes it be 2 weeks
before
2 weeks after.
Different times when I was younger, my mother was abused. And so I always tell myself I wouldn't want to be abused when I get older. My daughter's father, he was very jealous, and if his own friends them come around and would gaff and he would rowing up and want to hit you on them thing. Enough time you are afraid, but then I say if I see my mom, she move on from abusive relationship, I say I could do it too, and I just decide to elevate myself and start doing things for myself. Me and Chow start dealing, and I just say I can settle down with Chow. He's been good to me all the while.
Omila seems to speak so casually about her abusive ex. It makes me wonder what buried emotions she may have.
Yeah, it's hard to find a good woman. So when it's hard to find a good man too, same way it go too, same way it go. So I love she all the time. You know what I mean? I love she like a ghetto man. Like you never believe that they ain't got nobody in the ghetto like got love. We end up married and I start to build a good home with her and thing. She got them Armenian thing and share, you understand? I was fucking around here, fucking there, and fucking all over the place. It's simple like that, you know what I mean? Because them is the things that she started doing, So when you see she start doing them things, one time I forgive she, me not share or do she anything. Second time come again bleeding to me. From there things just start to get real sick, I start to knock share and every time she go out and do them things I start to knock share. You know what I mean? You got no reason for do them things. I looking out for you. So from there I was never no more Mr. Nice Guy from there. My life just take a big change in it. I just turned mean and ruthless. Started to do all these things I'm telling you about. Had no more love,
Peter seems unable to escape the past his mother had left him. His violence reflects a feeling that women in his life had failed him. Charu is gentle, but I wonder about the shadows of Amila's past. Does she still suffer from those memories?
Some people would have done given up a certain situation they've been through. But I still ask Father for the faith and the strength to be strong. And we have to believe in somebody, something.
You think I know it's not nice? Thieving and robbing people and them things. You think I know it's not nice? I know it's not nice, but it's just that I gotta survive. You know what I mean? The devil is a busy man. There's the whole fullness. The devil is a busy man. And so long as I living in places like this, I'm being comfortable, and I always uncomfortable, the devil always busy. You know what I mean? He can use me and he can use millions and more like me. You know what I mean? In the ghettos them.
Block you. Block you. You buy
So he had a dream, and he believed that God has given him that dream, that my wife was cheating on me. That's my mom.
The father closed up the whole house all over, turned on the TV louder like nobody couldn't hear.
That one doesn't count.
So he took us in the kitchen, he put a pot of boiling hot water on the stove, and he took a cutlass, a knife, and wrist blades he bought, freshly bought from the store.
The children were there behind me shouting and squealing, hollering and all these things, and if they only holler, he started beating them and all too, but he don't damage them like how he just damaged me. He didn't juke me no way, just marking my skin like this with a knife. When he mark you with this knife, you can't holler. I tell you plain, you can't holler. Don't make no noise on these things. In one day alone, I experienced something like we say about 35 to 36 cuts and chops in my body. Yes, I actually bleed out my entire body with blood.
I guess he cut and cut until he couldn't cut no more of her. And when he was finished, he had a bottle of Gramazone poison, and he was going to poison all of us.
He mixed it in a half-gallon ice cream container and give me to drink. No, he give one of the little boy to drink first, and I start to cry hard. When I start to cry, he give me a next chop. That is when I get it here. And I scramble the bowl out of the boy hand, one of the little boy, and by the cut all in the fingers and the hand and them thing, and so the blood slide. I lean the bowl to my mouth, but it didn't get my mouth. All fall on top my stomach like this because the blood from my hand slide the bowl out, and that is how the poison get to throw away. That was like life in hell.
They say people, you mustn't live with regrets, but I live with regrets in my life. You know, things that happen to me, things that I do in my life. You know what I mean? You know, things that I didn't like that happened to me too. You know, I live with a lot of regrets. You know, it just happens all the time with me and them. You know what I mean? Sometimes I end up hurting a whole family, like 4 or 5 persons in a family, end up chopping them up, fucking up their hand and food. Things that I don't need to do, you understand? Saying them things though when I get ignorant, you understand? Why don't need to do? I end up doing, you know, like my whole sight is gone. I don't like know myself no more. You know, I don't see myself no more until I don't do what I gotta do. You know, I don't know what I be doing, you know. Tell you the honest truth. You know, only y'all don't know. Or people don't know that I don't, when I get into the way there, I don't see myself no more. I don't even know if I'm alive or anything. Until when it done wear off for me in the moment. You know, I don't know. It's like crazy, but I don't think I'm crazy.
He get together with the children, started to clean up my skin, go and buy drugs at the drugstore and try to put on the cuts and all these kind of thing. Buy pain tablet and give me to drink and put me to lie down and sleep and so. And he stood there with me actually like 3 days. After I see like he wanted to start up back again because he was still smoking the drugs. I timed him one day when he wasn't around, and then I walk out of the house with the children then. But you see, the hardest with me, I didn't have nothing because even though I was with the father, everything used to be in his name. So even when I walk out the house, me ain't got nothing.
It's really hard on her. Sometimes she would come home and I would see she won't eat. She would go to bed just like that, and she would give us all we want, and she would deprive herself from she won't eat, and she would take it on a lot.
There's a hole in a metal, and she can't seem to fill it up. There's a hole in a metal, and my heart can't mend it up. But why does she try to find an occasion to mend it up when all the while searching hard for identity that she's not? But girl, I like your business. I like your business. Girl, I like your business. Whoa, let's have a good time.
There be traffic blocking. We want cherry or passion?
Which one you like better?
I
Which
like cherry.
Alright, I take cherry.
No more than one. 6.
Oh, what's up?
Hey, what's up? How you doing?
Hey, I got beat you. And you too, me.
Just come and beat me now.
Hello. Hello. You cook? You cook? You cook? Oh shit, me cook now, you know. Y'all ain't got food. Y'all ain't got food. Hello. Hello.
Look auntie talking to you.
Hi. Tell them send the food fine. You hear? Don't forget, right? Alright, good.
It's got me too, yeah.
In the poor homes, you find that there is a lot of love and sharing, and some people might say we got more than she. We ain't got to talk to she, or them ain't got to be friends with you because them got more than you. But whenever done, we are all human, so we have to have love for one another. Okay, you are passion,
Passion! Not my cherry.
For the cherry? Thank you. Punch it. I'm the one-armed man. You know you have to punch for the one-armed man. Yeah, the one-armed man. You have to punch it for me, baby. Thank you, sweetheart.
You don't fight on nothing, the little that you have to be contented with. And God always will provide for the next day.
From nowhere, a woman appeared just like that. When she heard my story and I told her the story, she said she's going to help me with the house lot. And in 3 months' time, I saw a truck pull up in front of me with one set of material on it. And a man jump off the truck and come to me and tell me, he laughing and he say, I must tell you, thanks. I said, why must tell you thanks for? He said, look, you see all them thing with up on the truck is your own. I come for build your house. And in 3 months' time, I get a house.
You excited for the next baby? Or you? Or
Cheer and excited.
Don't like I did wrong me when I didn't. But I feel sad to know that I passed through so much. And now is the time that I get a little peace of mind. Now is the time I discover that I'm facing cancer. I'm a diabetic, you know? All this cancer. It's a pain in the joints, in the jawbone. In the jaw, they say the cancer is in the muscles. In the muscle itself here, right? My mouth cannot open to a certain extent and it's a pain. And every time I talk, it's clicking like a clock. It's going click, 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 you know?
When I arrive at Amila's home, Charu tells me she is in the hospital. She has been bleeding for a few days. She begins to cry. I can't help but wonder what future will hold for the people I encountered. Will Amila find a way out for her children? Will Peter be freed from his violent history, and Auntie from her haunting past?
I just remember, but I don't, you know, I forgive him. I can't forget. Those are things to remember because every time I look at my skin and them cut this, I keeps remembering. Because even when you go in front of the mirror, you see them cut on your face, you must remember. That's the only thing I tell myself. I had a wrong partner in life. I choose a wrong partner in life.
But I'm glad I grew up in an area where we learn about violence and crime and everything. So when we go out in the world, we know how to approach ourselves, you know. Not because I come from the area with crime and violence and smoking and abuse. You must turn out to be like that. We could make a change.
You find, you know, the famous Peter is getting soft. What am I calling soft? But, you know, trying for like change my life around and do something better with it. But they ain't got nothing better to do. That's the thing about it. Because tomorrow comes, you understand what I'm saying? I got something serious to do. I gonna do it because I got to survive. You understand what I'm saying? It's simple like that.
I think you're wonderful. When somebody say that to me, I feel wonderful. As wonderful as can be. It makes me wanna say same thing to somebody new. And by the way, I've been meaning to say, I think you're wonderful too. Living your life in this most honest way. Living and praying and laughing each day. Oh, what a joy.
Elijah, that's a man of God.
When you hear someone say, I think you're wonderful. When somebody says that to me, I feel wonderful. As wonderful can be. It makes me wanna say the same thing to somebody.
Oh, what's his name? I forget that.
Elijah. To say, I think you're wonderful too.
I think you're wonderful. When somebody says that to me, I feel wonderful, as wonderful as can be. It makes me want to say the same thing to somebody new. And by the way, I've been meaning to say that I think you're wonderful too. When we practice this phrase in the most honest way, find something special in someone each day. Lift up the world one heart at a time. It all starts by saying this one simple line. I think you're wonderful. When somebody says that to me, I feel wonderful, as wonderful as can be. It makes me want to say the same thing to somebody new. And by the way, I've been meaning to say that I think you're wonderful too.
About 15 years ago since you went for the first time to Lagos, and it's 2001 that we went there together for the first time. Has it changed your image of Africa?
Well, it it has clarified my image of Africa, and of course it has intensified my relationship with Africa after Lagos. I've been kind of through many different African countries, discovered also, after the West Coast, the East Coast, and it confirmed in general my impression of Africa as an unbelievably intelligent and creative part of the world.
We've seen bits of the information here and there appear. What has been the reception of your findings?
I think there are two things. I think that in Africa the reception was very good, and I think that there was in general a kind of sense of welcome, that we were looking at Lagos and trying to understand Lagos. I think there was also a good kind of reception of the idea that it was not simply coming to Lagos and kind of trying to analyze, but that we came with students, that we married students to African students, and that therefore it also involved the Lagos sections of the Lagos population. On the other hand, I've been kind of really taken aback and to use a melodramatic word, traumatized, as Hans Ulrich would say, by the hostility of part of the reception, where the sheer fact that I would go as an architect and inject myself in the heart of Lagos was seen as a kind of cynical enterprise, and where any of my judgments or my analysis was was questioned. First of all, because people did not trust my motives, and also felt that there was not enough empathy and not enough declaration of empathy in the beginning. I read George Becker's kind of article about Lagos again, and what he seems to be most indignant about is that we did not say in every sentence that these people have no choice, and that we not say that they have to do this because they otherwise wouldn't survive, and so that there is on our part no indignation about their condition, and only some kind of aesthetic slumming to appreciate it. But I still maintain that that is the wrong reason, and that there is a real creativity in Lagos that almost doesn't exist anywhere else, that enables people to make the best of terrible situations. And I think it made me very aware that reception, that we are in a kind of period of our cultural or kind of mentality where analysis in itself is becoming almost controversial, and where before we look at anything we have to first declare our empathy and be deeply empathetic with all the symptoms of empathy before we can proceed. Mm-hmm. One very good example of that was, for instance, the fact that we rented the helicopter of the president was universally seen as a kind of form of distancing, and even as a form of cowardice, because we did not dare to be on the ground, as a kind of escape, even though one of the classical elements of the architectural apparatus is a bird's eye view, because in a bird's eye view you can capture and understand things that you simply cannot understand from the ground. So it is simply part of an arsenal of analysis, but an arsenal of analysis in itself already sounds suspect, I think, in the current cultural moment.
How do you explain that skepticism?
Well, so I partly explained it. I think at this moment an architect is probably a kind of highly charged kind of identity, where it is automatically assumed that you have motives, that one of your motives is to change a particular situation or to profit from a certain situation. And the fact that I was there not necessarily as an architect but simply as a researcher is kind of not recognized in the way currently people look at architects. I was there as a kind of Harvard professor. It was an effort to also with another academic institution, but the word architect is now so charged that it automatically triggers this suspicion, I think.
Of what? Suspicion of?
The suspicion of ulterior motives, yeah, and the suspicion of bad motives, and the suspicion of condescension, and the suspicion of insensitivity, and the suspicion of whatever you name it.
Of profit? Or?
Yeah, profit, ultimately, to benefit from it. When I go somewhere, I really do not want to get something out of it. I really want it to influence me to eventually produce something about it. I mean, that is my most authentic motivation. And so in that sense, I'm not even worried that I didn't get anything out of it. And so I was, in every case, I'm kind of waiting, what does this experience need as a kind of counterpart?
But people didn't read a book because the book hasn't been published. So what are they critical of?
That is so interesting, because of course the whole thing has a kind of strange virtual quality, because there was no book, even though the book was announced. So in that sense, and maybe in that sense, I was also guilty in kind of provoking this situation. They could only respond to the kind of visual, to the symptoms, and not to the substance of the whole thing.
But generally you are not so easily intimidated by criticism.
I know, and so I've kind of really often kind of wondered why I didn't do it, but I think that in this case, actually, I'm not intimidated personally, and if it's about my own performance or what I do or what I think. But in this case, ironically, I also felt a huge kind of sense of responsibility of not caricaturing or not kind of ridiculing and not being simplistic to these people. So that made me also kind of vulnerable. My own actual empathy made me also vulnerable at wanting to be scrupulous.
Is it also the part of the suspicion in the attitude, in the reception, having to do with a tall white man looking at Lagos?
Well, that was definitely part. Of course, that was definitely part of it. But again, more from the outset than inside kind of Africa, because first of all, I was a tall white man among even taller Nigerian men. And I never felt any kind of resentment or reservation from that side, from the side of Lagos. On the contrary, kind of hugely welcoming and of course hugely humorous kind of reception.
Mm-hmm. Because you said back then, you said when I look at a picture of myself standing on a crossroad, a traffic point, I think it looks strange, but when I stand there, it doesn't feel strange. Yeah. And do you think that this sort of inhibited attitude in the Western views of Africa is sort of keeping us from embracing it more closely, to engaging with it and really in understanding it on different levels? I think that it was very clear to me in a retrospect that intimidation, that I was not the first one to feel it, and that kind of if you added and looked at it as a kind of general pattern, that this intimidation actually had kept Africa under wraps, literally, and had kept Africa removed from us as a kind of basket case, and therefore that this intimidation, written large, was very responsible probably for a lot of the kind of more tragic aspects of Africa in retrospect. Yeah. So how can that if we had been kind of much freer, that we could have kind of engaged with Africa, and I know that this is an example that people are also not particularly positive about, but as China kind of simply saying, what can I do here?
how can I operate here, and how can I have an interaction here which is not based on special pleading, but on naked interest.
What naked interest?
Naked self-interest and naked interest of the other party, the other side.
Mm-hmm. So Africa is basically, we're denying it something.
Well, I think that yes, by being so careful, I think we've been denying it a form of engagement, a form of uninhibited and free engagement. That is definitely what I felt.
Do you feel that has changed over the past 50 years?
I think it has changed enormously, because I think it's, first of all, it's changed because Africa, of course, has been taking care of itself to some extent and in many different cases, in ways that are plausible and more robust than perhaps we could have thought. So there isn't the same emphasis on delicacy and sentimentality anymore. And I think perhaps another thing that has contributed to it is that we have been confronted much more with our own chaos and our own kind of weakness and our own organizational ineptness. So that kind of perhaps we are more modest in kind of looking at all these places, and that kind of brings me to another point. Kind of our lack of modesty was probably also one of the ways in which we couldn't kind of really engage.
Have you been back to Lagos?
Yes, I've been back a number of times, and every time kind of really wonderful, and every time. On one hand, seeing improvements and seeing that some of those improvements, for instance, in traffic flow and others, have eliminated some of the phenomena that we were most interested in studying. But we were, of course, particularly interested is how failure generates opportunity. Given a certain form of creativity and necessity.
You made a distinction between choice and options at the time, which I thought was very interesting. You think that is still the case?
I still think it's the case, and I think in general it's the case. But anyway, so some of the most interesting things, of course, disappeared, but I think that for Lagos that's a good thing, kind of probably. And as you just said, other things and other conditions are still exactly the same, like the sawmills and the good markets, and so it's become a kind of more regular situation. And I, at some point, met the governor and met the people who are currently making a difference. And what I then discovered is that, of course, kind of more regular Lagos is not a Lagos where, for instance, the tradition of planning intelligent infrastructure or to plan collective facilities is kind of restored. It's now leapt kind of to one phase further, where again what happens is kind of ultimately determined by developers working with the kind of state, and so that therefore it shifted back to or it shifted to the kind of commercial model that we know of development that we know in America and in Europe and in Asia.
Mm-hmm. So is Lagos becoming more like other megacities?
If you look at the language, visual language, and the visual language is of course mostly Photoshop, then the kind of ideal Lagos is a kind of a version of Dubai, and I can understand that also because I see the virtues of Dubai also. So saying the ideal Lagos is like Dubai is not a form of condemnation, but I can understand that that is the new ideal.
But is that the same all over the world?
Yeah, I think it's very similar all over the world, but currently there is the connection between Asia and China, but there's another kind of very strong connection that people are less alert to, which is the connection between the Arab world and Africa. The whole of Eastern Africa is teeming and seen and planned almost from Arab countries and particularly Dubai, and they're kind of beginning also in West Africa. So what I can predict over time is a kind of really close connection closer than between China and Africa, between the Arab world and Africa. Both through Islam on the one hand, but also through through other commercial connections, and also, of course, traditional connections between Lebanon and Africa has been very intense. A lot of Lebanon is now in Dubai, so I've seen everywhere signs that that is going to be the biggest involvement.
Well, part of the interest was that Lagos was a city disconnected from a global system.
Yeah.
Now, can you say that Lagos is disconnected?
No, I'm sure it's much more connected from the global system, and that was why I think our timing was in a way impeccable, because we maybe have inadvertently discovered the last terra incognita and the last moment of any disconnected point in the world. And that might be an interesting way of reading it and rereading it, because I'm still very interested in doing something. Immediately after this Biennale, I will kind of work on it. I still don't know how to do it. I want to bring out some of the first wave of impressions, and I also want to kind of write something from my perspective now about that whole experience. And I think to have been there is, I think in retrospect, a much more unique condition than we even realized at the time.
Can you recall an image or a situation that sort of represents that?
That represents that or that purity of non-connection. Many. I think what is also maybe important to kind of recognize, we were not only in Lagos, we also, before we even went to Lagos, we drove 5,000 kilometers in Nigeria kind of to see every part and to understand what kind of relationship Lagos had to the rest of the country. So we wanted to see the rest of the country first. So we had kind of a really fairly complete sense of how it then operated, and I think maybe globalization now is not only the kind of economic connections, not only Chinese investment, not only kind of relationship with Dubai, but probably also the intensification of Islam and Christian conflict, and it seems that a lot of the tensions that currently characterize global divisions are important in Lagos or in Africa or in that part of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's also a form of globalization. Probably.
Mm-hmm. But how has Lagos changed you?
Well, I think it's changed me in many ways. I think that it really reinforced the seemingly arrogant kind of assumption that we, or I, maybe in this case I should, that I have a kind of really deeply anthropological motivation. Although I've never been a kind of professional, it reinforced the confidence of in terms of understanding larger patterns and larger coherences. It reinforced my confidence in terms of talking about really complex situations in a way which does them justice. actually, of course, kind of intensified and reinforced an emotional register that was perhaps kind of begun in Indonesia and deepened in kind of China and in Lagos. So it's a combination of things.
Mm-hmm.
And it reinforced, endlessly my openness to Africa.
Would you like to build in Lagos?
Well, so I was alluding to it at that point of first meeting the governor. He was kind of suggesting that I could ride a bus, maybe do a bus station at the end of one of the bridges, and that we could kind of on the roof of the bus station kind of organize a market. And so there was a moment, exceptional moment, when it seemed that actually I could almost directly write myself into the script that I had kind of uncovered. And that was very beautiful because it coincided with increasing discomfort with the way architecture is used and how it is used as a kind of tool for articulation of individual values away from a kind of public dimension. So the idea of doing a bus station in Lagos was, would have been a crowning achievement in my vain search for utilitarian use of architecture, but so far it hasn't happened.
Why not?
I think because there was no money, or because there was another kind of developer project, and actually there was a project for creating a loop around the kind of lagoon that had a lot of commercial backers, and maybe that won out.
Has Lagos influenced, for example, the CCTV building?
Do you think it influenced? Could you construct an influence?
No, it seems like two different worlds.
Yeah.
That's why I wonder sometimes, like, how do they connect inside your mind?
Yeah. Yeah.
But maybe they don't. That's possible.
Well, I remember that my relationship with American architects underwent a kind of very serious and traumatic break when at the end of a 10-year-long series of conferences, the Annie Conference in the Koolhaas Museum in New York, I presented the work on Prada and Lagos in one presentation. And therefore talking openly about the stretch or the spagat that is implied in kind of living in this part of the, then it was still, I think, the 20th century, last moment of the 20th century, and as we go into the 21st century. And that was simply too much for the audience to accept. So I was really almost kind of thrown out of the room. And Peter Eisman saying, I don't want to hear this kind of combination, I can't handle it. And I think that is one of the few kind of really wonderful sides, which, by the way, is of course your experience too, of a kind of profession that injects you in different conditions.
Yeah.
I think that it's a great similarity between journalism and architecture.
I think with the Lagos, an interesting thing, if your analysis was the foregrounding and the backgrounding, what you said about the helicopter was also part of the inspiration for the film, to take those to separate those two ways of looking. Do you think, looking back, that's still a productive way of looking at the city, and can you envision that bringing into some kind of book or publication, or apply it to other things? I think this foregrounding, backgrounding was...
Yeah, it's for me incredibly interesting, and it's also interesting now. We are working for the Biennale on a kind of scan of Italy, and in that scan the kind of present for every kind of single location in Italy or zone, both a movie and an architectural project. Yes. And what we see in the kind of movies is that kind of reading of foreground and background is absolutely part of the tradition of movies, or is the essence of movies.
Will you go back to Lagos?
Yeah, very soon. Because as soon as this is over, I want to go.
And publish?
And publish. I need to publish. We have discussed what to publish. There's one thing I know I will work on. It is kind of to select the 300 key images and kind of write 300 text where I think they're key, so that will be a record of the whole experience in both in images and words, because I think in that case they were really equivalent in terms of importance. I also will look, hopefully, in a larger context, with what we should do with all the books, all the versions that have been kind of produced. Yeah. The original version, which is kind of full of still almost cackling with excitement, but also wonderful interpretations, and then the kind of more thorough things we did after. So we have to find a way to make that whole history of revision accessible. This was the kind of first book the students did, and kind of really, I've just been kind of rereading parts of it.
Which year?
It's really, I don't know. This is kind of the promised students. But I think it must have been 2002 or something.
Or 2000 even.
2000, maybe.
No, 2002.
Yeah, I really should do a kind of reconstruction. This was a kind of version that we worked with Ademede, electrical engineer, also from Lagos. That was part in the office and that actually moved to New York to work with 2x4 on the whole book. I think that this is the kind of most extreme kind of version that received at the time or achieved at the time.
It even has a publisher on the front.
It even, yeah, Lars Muller.
Why was that not published?
I think in the end some kind of final lack of concentration. It was, of course, a kind of very intense period in the office, and I don't know. And then this one, 2009. And the irony is that kind of each of them could be published and could have been published and kind of be wonderful. And maybe the first and the last one are the most interesting.
But how are they? They're each different?
They're each different, and you know, we went scrupulously to be more factual, to do more research in terms of history, of chronology, of the different territories. I mean, you should look at it yourself. Yeah? So it's on the one hand an enormous source of regret, on the other hand an enormous source of potential. So
you said that then Lagos made you more direct and more visceral, but it seems to have paralyzed you too in this respect.
Well, in books, I'm kind of reluctant to accept the term paralysis, because you could also call it gestation. I think to not have done it immediately is also, maybe also has a kind of ultimately a good purpose, or enables you to do another thing. And so, because obviously it's 10 years or 15 years about Lagos, but also 15 years about the rest of the world and 15 years about yourself. So I think that could be a very interesting connection.
I think you need to do it for Lagos too, because I remember the talk show host saying, after this, after you publish your book, finally we will get rid of this caricature of Lagos being this filthy, dangerous place that everybody should avoid, including African experts on city.
Yeah. Well, I think your DVD did a lot of that already, you know.
But when you look at the film now, you think it's outdated?
The film? No, how can something like it's a film of a moment. I don't think it's outdated at all. But maybe we can. I don't know when you want to bring it out, but we could maybe go back together and see.